Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome, everybody, into the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Show on the Overreaction Sports Network, powered by the Believe Podcast Network. My name is Joe Miller. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired, alongside my two awesome co-hosts, former Buffalo Bills offensive linemen from the 90s era, the red helmet era of the Buffalo Bills, Jerry Ostrowski and John Fina. You can find them collectively on Twitter at Ostrowski_Big O and at John Fina. It is so good to have every single one of you joining us live right now on YouTube. Welcome to all of you. Ryan Tongue in the room. I haven't seen Ryan in a while. Richard Rush is here. Bella's here. Joseph is here. Amick is here. Like, John Fina's in the room. Like, you guys can jump on YouTube and talk to John Fina. But it's so good to have every single one of you guys joining us live. Please do us a favor. Please like. Please subscribe. Whatever platform you are consuming this live vidcast on, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and do the same if you are listening in audio form, in podcast form on any one of the every major podcast networks. We're on all of them. It is what it is. I would be remiss if I did not start this show with a little bit of history. Rory McIlroy literally just won the Masters for the first time in his career. 17th try, I think is what he had said. Only golfer to have 4 double bogeys in his 72-hole round between the entire tournament. Gave up the lead twice, and then missed his last putt to force a playoff against himself. He did just about everything he could to not win this tournament, but he pulled it out. I put it on Twitter that he is the new cardiac kid. But it felt a lot of people kind of, I don't know how you guys felt, but a lot of people on Twitter were very much like, this was very Billsy. This felt very like, how many
I'll
days
tell you how I felt when he hit an 8-iron 190 yards. I felt a little diminished. Holy cow.
Like,
those 2 approach shots he hit were just magnificent.
Yeah. And then Justin Rose is coming in at 152 and he's got an 8-iron. I was like, oh, you wuss. What were your thoughts on that win there, Jer?
I thought it was an awesome tournament, man. I mean, it was one of the best final rounds of golf I've seen in quite some time.
Yeah.
I'm happy for Rory. Glad he finally won. And it was one of those things where when he walked off 18, you could kind of see the pressure, see the demons leaving his body, because he has had some pretty he had a close call on, I think, 14 at the Masters when he blew the final round lead. He had the Pinehurst U.S. Open the year before where he missed the short putt. So yeah, I mean, think about how long golf's been played professionally, and only 6 players have won the Grand Slam. That's a big deal. So congratulations to him. It was awesome.
Yeah, super cool. I miss what's the word? Selfishly, I miss obviously Tiger in his prime, but I miss the days. There was that short couple of years, 4, 5, 6 years, where it was Bubba Watson, Rory McIlroy, Ricky Fowler, and like Dustin Johnson. Yes, Spieth. Like there was a group of really like you could root for all of them. Like, and now there's a whole bunch of dudes I have no idea who they are. And Rory McIlroy, obviously Scheffler and DeChambeau and stuff like that. But yeah, it was a great tournament. So yeah, just a little bit of history and great tournament as Jerry said. But the Buffalo Bills are what? We're about a little over 2 weeks away from the NFL draft, the 2025 NFL draft, and we are continuing our series in roster conversations as the Buffalo Bills scouting team is honing in and focused completely, I'm sure, on that. Brandon Beane said as much, as he said that we are turning our attention, I think last week or a week and a half ago, to the draft. And we are going to go through in this episode effectively some of the people that the Bills have either talked to, brought in for 30. So for everybody that doesn't know, the Bills every team is allowed to bring in 30 players for an interview on top of the interview that they do at the scouting combine. And then obviously if they go to a pro day, I think they can talk to them there as well. But the Buffalo Bills have brought in some folks, and we're going to kind of just work through some of these names, talk about fits, talk about effectively maybe who fits in the first round or second round, or maybe where the Bills go. Cause I have a thought from what I've seen. But just at first glance, is there anything, Jerry, that sticks out to you here as far as what who they've been talking to?
Yeah, digging into these draft reports over the last couple of months, and especially the last few weeks, really trying to get into it. If you look at the names of some of these players they brought in their top 30, part of it kind of leans to me that they're possibly looking at trading out of the first round. I think they probably have got a couple of players, and I would think those guys are in the defensive line room that if they fall to 30, they'll take. But if those guys aren't there, then they're kind of shift their focus again to moving back into the second round. Because if you look at Brandon Beane and all the draft choices that he's made, he always makes a third-round pick.
Yeah.
And they don't have a third-round pick. So how do they get that third? Do they trade their first to get another second and a third? Do they trade both of their fourths to move up into the third? That's kind of what I look at when I see this list. It's a lot of guys there's a couple of fringe first round guys, but most of them are solid second round guys, second day guys. And, maybe it's a little bit of, we don't want to show our hand, but also maybe we're really digging into that talent that we think we'll get in that second day, especially if we move out of round one.
Yeah, before I get to you, John, I'm going to read the list of guys that they brought in so far, and it is not 30, and I'm going to do my best job to not butcher some of these names. And this is in no particular order. Wide receiver Isaiah Beane from Texas, cornerback Trey Amos from Ole Miss, defensive end Oladejo from UCLA. I'm guessing a former teammate of Bruno. Yes, Correct. So Bruno has had to probably guard him in practice or defend against him in practice. Defensive tackle
block.
Or block him. Yeah.
Hey.
He was off the line of scrimmage when Bruno was there, but now he's hand on the ground kind of guy.
Right.
Gotcha. Defensive tackle Omar Norman Lott from Tennessee. Defensive tackle Tyleek Williams from Ohio State. Wide receiver Arian Smith from Georgia. Defensive lineman Ty Robinson from Nebraska. Wide receiver Kendra Lambert Smith from Auburn. Wide receiver Isaac Tisla? How do you pronounce that one from
Let's go with Tesla.
I like Tesla. Defensive end Braden Swinson from LSU, cornerback Siobhan Revel Jr. from East Carolina, and defensive end Braden Swinson from LSU. John, when you see that list, and I'm going to give you the list of guys that they kind of talked to as far as a couple guys at the combine, so we can kind of see some duplications. Who sticks out to you on that list so far?
Well, I mean, I still think defensive tackle is where we need to be for our earliest pick, whether we trade out of the first round or not. And I don't know if it's a concern or if it's a little sleight of hand, not bringing in more defensive tackles than just, I think, two and having a conversation with was a little bit surprising to me, right? Yeah. Even if you don't get that guy and you opt for a speedy wide receiver to take the top off, or you're going to go with a cornerback, I just feel like you need to get to know these guys a little bit more. So I guess I don't know if I'm surprised or I'm thinking, Brandon Beane's doing Brandon Beane type of stuff and doesn't want to show his hand, doesn't want to show too much interest or what have you. But I like Oladejo as far as an edge guy goes, but a little undersized. I don't know about the productivity 1 year with the hand on the ground. I mean, that's a little concerning to me. As I look at the defense, we can plug and play with some of the guys that we have, and we still are the top 2 scoring offense in the league.
Right.
If you make some minor roster adjustments on defense, but you add that guy, and there's 3 of them, that Isaiah Bond, Keandre Lambert, Smith, and Jalen from Virginia Tech. These are fast guys.
Right.
So it's curious to me to see such a depth of wide receiver on the list, thinking that their top 3 positions, cornerback, defensive tackle, wide receiver, if they don't get what they want, they have to trade out. They might opt for a wide receiver, which
it's funny. Yeah, it's funny because that name, Oluwafemi Oladejo, I can say in my mind 100 times, but as soon as I go to say it, it doesn't come out right. If I had to guess, the Bills are drafting that guy because they did it to us last year with Ulufoshio. Remember what the draft show we did, and none of us could pronounce Eddie Ulufoshio's name. We were all like, "Oh, this is terrible." Jerry, you've done more draft research than John and I have, and I'm not a draft Nick. So obviously, the Bills have 1 first-round pick right now. They've got 2 second-round picks. Who in this list of guys, because the Bills are known to bring in the dude that they take first. The first pick of their draft is a guy that's always been in the building. Who in this list is a first or second round grade?
Well, Ralph Wilson Sr. says they did not bring Kincaid in and they moved up to get him. So that rumor is possibly wrong, but I look at pick 30. I got 3 guys, and all of them are defensive linemen. You got Kenneth Grant from Michigan, who I think is the ideal guy that we could play as our style of nose. He's a big physical guy that can take on double teams, but he can also get upfield and disrupt. And as you know, we don't really play a true kind of a nose guard in this defense. Like when I look at Tyleik Williams, whose weight's kind of been all over the place. He was 6'3", 334 during the season. Then he lost like 30 pounds for the combine. Then he put a little bit back on before pro day. That is your prototypical run-stopping nose, right? But I got 3 guys at that 30 pick as far as D linemen go. I got Derek Harmon from Oregon, who plays a lot of 3 technique, but in our style of defense can play nose. Kenneth Grant, who I talked about a minute ago from Michigan, and the other one is Walter Nolan, the defensive tackle from Ole Miss. I think those 3 guys, if they're there, one of those 3 guys are there, you take them. Now, if you look at this list of top 30 visits, I think a guy like Trey Amos is a guy that could possibly go at 30. Of all the dudes on this list, he's really the only one. Now, Siobhan Rebel, who is if he doesn't have the ACL injury, is a lock as far as probably top 15, top 18 kind of guy at corner. I got to see him play at East Carolina. He is a big physical man press corner. He's 6'2", 194. Obviously no testing scores because of the ACL, but he's got long arms, physical. I really like him. He's definitely a first-round talent. Amos is the guy that kind of intrigues me because I think he is probably, as far as the corners go or early round guys, your best combo corner. He can play man, but he can also play zone really, really well, can read through the eyes of the quarterback. He's got some twitch and burst. Not the greatest of tacklers. I think he gets guys on the ground, but he's not as willing as a Christian Benford. He's not a guy that's going to put his face in there. He's much more of a guy that's kind of a grab and pull guys down type of tackler. But I think he would be a great combo corner for us, 4.43 in the 40-yard dash. I don't think he's crazy fast in long routes. He has a little bit of issue with keeping up with receivers. But I think as far as this list goes, that's really the only first-round guy other than Rebel on this list. You got a lot of other guys. I think you guys were talking about Oladejo earlier. I think he's crazy intriguing. I think the sky's the limit for this kid because he's only played 1 season as a defensive end, former outside linebacker, as John had talked about. But he's got the body. He's got length. He's just going to get better and better. He's 6'3", 259. You have to understand the Bills aren't going to probably go get a bookend defensive end. They have one in Bosa, but, some of these guys they've been bringing in lately are maybe your smaller, kind of longer, bendy type of dudes. So I could see him being maybe late day 2, early day 3 kind of guy for the Bills if he's there. Especially in the old days, John. This is a John Butler special right here. This is a guy that's got all the tools. I give him the Rusty Jones for a year and a half, and next thing you know, he's coming out and he's pushing to make a Pro Bowl. So when I look at these guys, that's why I said earlier, to me anyway, and even in the wide receivers, and John had talked about it, one thing about these wideouts, every one of them, 4.3, world-class speed, 4.3, 4.3. The only guy that's not a 4.3 guy is Isaac Tisla, who's 6'4", 214 and plays slot. So you got a lot of mismatches as far as size go, but he's even a 4.43 guy. So lots of speed at the receiver guys they brought in. But as far as lock at 30, I don't see any of these guys on this list as locks at 30th pick.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Jerry. And I like Nolan from Ole Miss. And I like the kid from Oregon, Derek Harmon. My question for you, Jerry, do you feel, 6'5" and Harmon, right? Do you like a little bit shorter kind of defensive tackle 3 technique, or are you okay with that kind of guy at 6'5"? Are you concerned having played guard that they get tired, they get a little taller, and that's a problem?
No, that's a great question. And that's one of the things I don't like about Harmon. He's long-legged, okay? He's high-hipped. So he's not, when you look at a Kenneth Grant, who's 6'3", 6'4", he's probably got an inseam of like 30 inches, maybe 32 inches, right? You look at Derek Harmon, his inseam's probably all of 34 to 36. He's a long-legged guy. So yeah, I think there's some issues there. But when you look at Buffalo and what they do at that nose and what they want out of the nose guard, I could see him transitioning to that spot, especially he has a frame. He could put another 20 on pretty easy. Yeah. And he's a big man to begin with. So, maybe not quite as concerned. But, yes, when I look at him, the body type, not my favorite for a defensive lineman.
It's my understanding that NFL teams have scouts for each individual one of the opposing NFL teams, or maybe they've got 2 or 3. Like, so a guy would have, 1 or 2 teams or 3 teams that he scouts and is effectively an expert on. So as rumblings happen inside of those locker rooms, they can call, which is where a lot of that, like, oh, Brandon Beane called about X player, and Brandon's like, I never called. And they're like, well, the Bills called. Well, that it might have been that scout that covers that team. All that to say this. I feel like when I look at this list of guys that they have brought in and interviewed, at least brought into Buffalo, knowing what they have, where their needs are, they're either not playing very good poker or it's Trey Amos at 30, right? It's either they're dropping back or it's Trey Amos, because he's the only one that kind of has somewhat of a first round grade. And you kind of said that, even though you don't feel like none of them do.
No, I did say I think Siobhan Revel is a lock without the ACL. I think he's still a first-round pick.
Gotcha.
But he's got the ACL injury.
Right. But I feel like the Bills have a huge need at corner, and there's a great deal of we've talked Stephon Gilmore, we've talked Rasul Douglas, I've brought up Trey White. Like, I feel like if they can't get potentially one of those two guys, I feel like the cards are on the table, like face up. If they can't get one of those two guys at 30, Rasul Douglas is coming back. Like, they make a phone call, a day after the draft is over to basically bring in a guy to fill the spot opposite Christian Benford. It just doesn't. There's no way they're going wide receiver, right? First, I can't imagine them going maybe second pick in second round. That just seems. What are the chances? Do you feel like there's an opportunity for them to go wide receiver that early, 1 or 2?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe 1 or 2. The thing about it is, when you look at the wideouts, at the wide receivers that would be available at that slot, you kind of lose the guys that the Bills want, right? What the Bills need is that over-the-top type of guy. And when you look at the wide receivers available, like a guy like Luther Burden III from Missouri is going to be in that area, and he's a true slot receiver, okay? They say he's a 5-tool guy, multi-sport athlete, but he is 5'11", 208, okay? He's more of a slot receiver. And he's young, so he still has some learning to do. But I don't see that. If they don't go defensive line or corner in the first pick, I will be flabbergasted. I mean, I just can't see them going any other way.
Right.
But again, I think there's some names out there that if they fall to 30. Now, here's the other thing we haven't talked about very much, and I don't think that we'll do it unless Beane feels he can get those 2 fourth-round picks and package them to move up into the third. Do the Bills take a second-round pick and their 30th pick and move up to get a guy like Kenneth Grant, or to get a guy like maybe I believe it's Johnson from Michigan, the cornerback, if he falls? I mean, there's a couple of guys that you could see moving up. And when I say move up, I'm not talking into the top 15. I think 15th would be probably the max, and you'd have to give up a little too much. I'm saying, from 30 to 20, from 30 to 25, somewhere like that, you could possibly move up if you gave that first second-round pick or second-round pick and your first at 30. So there is the possibility of moving up as well. But I just think that the way things are set up, unless these couple of dudes fall to 30, it's set up once again, because I think Trey Amos would be there early in the second round.
Right.
Unless there's just some kind of crazy run on corners, I think he would be there, especially like you go to Jacksonville and move back.
I agree with you. And the Bills have just so many picks this year. So their options to trade around and play the field are really great. And the one thing we haven't even mentioned, right? We're not privy to how anything is going with James Cook. That could be packaged up, trade pick, move up to 22, get Kenneth Grant, get the Michigan cornerback. There's all kinds of things going on. I'll tell you, though, I just don't love watching the first round without the Bills getting a pick.
Right.
So, I hope they move up. I don't think that the roster is in such a state that you need 10 picks in the entire draft. I think you're smarter to make a pointed play to move up for a guy that fits the need. And I know people come back and say, well, we did that with Kaiir Elam. It didn't work out. The draft is a crapshoot anyway, right? You believe in that guy. He has the skills and the tool sets that you like. He did what you want him to do in college. I think this is it. You gamble.
But I think if you're going to put James Cook into a trade scenario, you have to be moving up into that 15 realm or higher, and you've got to be saying the guy we're taking is a day one starter, no questions.
Agreed.
He's got to be a day one starter because you're weakening your football team at that running back spot. No matter how good the other two do, that guy's is a Pro Bowl caliber player. So you better make sure you're getting a starter if you're going to add James Cook to that trade scenario.
If it helps for context and just for the conversation, during the combine, the Buffalo Bills interviewed Jaden Blue, running back from Texas, and these are all per Ryan Talbot. Trevor Etienne, Travis Etienne's brother from Georgia, and then James Jordan, running back from Oregon. Trevor Etienne, obviously from Georgia. We know that James Cook also came from Georgia. I don't know, any of those three guys strike your fancy? Is there a first-round grade on any of those guys? I can't imagine there is.
I think there's only 2 first-round grades on running backs, and one of them is the kid from Boise State.
Ashton Jeanty.
Yeah, Ashton Jeanty. So I don't believe so.
Gotcha.
So anyway, if you look at this whole thing, and granted, they still have time to bring more in. Like, for instance, I know they're bringing Shamar Stewart in, 6'5", 267 from Texas A&M. He's a guy that is a poster child for looking the part with minimal production. The guy's built out of stone, amazing physique. He gets John will love this. John will love this. This will be John's favorite pick. He compresses the pocket with his bull rush, John. But he lacks other pass rush skills, right? So he's got a long way to go. He's got poor hands and things like that, but he's a guy that they're bringing in. And then there's a couple of guys that they've done some personal workouts with. Didn't bring him in for their 30 visits, but a guy that's been talked about a lot on Twitter by some of the local press is Chris Paul Jr. from Ole Miss, the linebacker. They call him Pooh. He's a guy that they've worked out. Another one is Dante Thornton from Tennessee, the big wide receiver. Again, another burner over the top. And then there is a small list of players they've brought in that they can have that don't count to the 30 are local visits. So guys like from UB, like the Sean Dolan kid, Ethan Dwayne, the punter, and then Marlo Wax, a linebacker from Syracuse, along with Elijah Clark, a safety from Syracuse, and then a defensive lineman, Camden White from Mercyhurst. So they can bring some local guys in as well that don't count towards that 30.
So my question, getting back to what we were talking about before, as far as the Bills maybe showing some of their cards, and this is for John. John, as you look at this list and you look at what the Bills have done, clearly signing Joey Bosa, re-signing Greg Rousseau, AJ Epinesa is on this roster, some guys, and then PED suspensions aside, it feels like they sort of addressed the defensive line at defensive tackle as well. To me, do you feel like maybe they feel like they've done enough on the defensive line to go Trey Amos or Siobhan Revel Jr. in the first round if they're there? Because we know that the Bills are going to pick for need with some of these picks early. They are not a BPA guy. We're not going to see them take a tight end at 30. They're like, oh, that's the best player on the board. Bang, take him. They're gonna fill a hole. So do you feel like they feel like they've done enough?
I can't imagine they feel like they've done enough at defensive tackle, right? So I think at the linebacker position we're okay. I think at the defensive end position we're pretty strong. You know, the one name you didn't mention was Javon Solomon, who showed some pretty strong improvement over the season last year. If it comes down to it, both guys are available at 30. I think they go cornerback. I'd be shocked if they didn't, unless somebody in the D tackle slides from 10 or 15 all the way down to 30. And again, it's a little bit like the election time. You get the October surprise, right? Things happen right around draft time that might cause a player to slip a little bit.
Jeremy Tunsil.
Man, by and large, though,
that was impressive, though. By the way, that was impressive.
What's that?
Jeremy Tunsil's performance.
Oh yeah, that was pretty strong.
That was impressive.
Well, he ended up being a Pro Bowler, at least a solid left tackle, right? I mean, and that's the thing. These are just 20, 22-year-old kids, right? They're going to make some mistakes. You feel like you have the right culture, the right people. You can address those types of shortcomings as long as they're not, hit and run, violence against women, those types of things.
They're hitting around. The NFL is apparently just going to sweep it under the carpet and not say anything to anybody about it anyway. So
Well, pre-draft, Joe. Pre-draft, it might make a difference.
It might make a difference. So got our first super chat of the evening. Ryan Tongan, thanks for the super chat. He says, Big O, John Fina, and apparently I'm The Rock, Dwayne The Rock, Joe Miller Johnson. He says,
Sandstone.
He's Sandstone. And he says, all legends and to be included.
Thanks, Ryan. That's awesome, man. Really appreciate
I do want to address something on the comments. Ralph Wilson Jr. says, would you take Amos at 30 just for the fifth-year option on a premium position? I mean, it depends on who's available. If the Bills really, truly feel that this is a guy that they're going to count on that's going to play and play a lot early, possibly. I mean, you're that fifth-year option is something you're gambling on. If not, you let him slide. Personally, I don't know if Amos is quite the talent to make sure you take the fifth. Take him in the first round to get that fifth-year option. I think if you take him in the second and he pans out, you pay him like you paid Benford. So I know the fifth-year option is a big deal in a lot of these contracts because, like the Bills being cap-strapped, you need some cheaper labor, so to speak. So, or cost-effective contracts. But when you look, I've done a ton of mocks, and we did a mock draft on the air the other night. It was fun. I mean, we did a couple of them, and it seems to me anyway, if the Bills stay at 30, that one player that seems to always be available, because I think Kenneth Grant's stock actually has risen quite a bit to where he'll probably go anywhere in that 18 to 25 range. But when you look at the players that seem to be available, and Amos is one of them that's there, but Derek Harmon's the guy that seems to always fall in these mock drafts. Now, granted, your players are getting drafted as according to the website's rating of players. So maybe that's not quite, the strongest indicator. But if, it's been more than one of them, and it's usually Derek Harmon. And so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Scott Blakely says, since we can't roster all of our draft picks, we'll be in bundle to move up to get a third. We talked about that earlier on. It'll be interesting. There's not many worlds where I think any of us see him taking 10 picks, right? 10 selections.
I agree.
It'll be interesting to see if some of the trades that he works, maybe he works into 2026 as far as that draft, right? So taking picks for next year, regardless, if they take 6 or 7, they're probably cutting 1 or 2 of these guys.
Well,
right?
Which leads you to the two scenarios. Do you take a second and a fourth with your 30 to move up high enough to get somebody you want if he falls? Or B, I think the other scenario is you package the 2 fourth rounders to move up into the third.
Right.
Beane's going to have a third. It will happen somehow, some way. It'll happen. You
did the math, Jerry. So how high can we get with one of our seconds and our first?
With one of our seconds and our first. So if you look at the sheet, which by the way came up on the wrong screen, you can still hear me, right?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, that's good because I'm losing everything now.
I could tell you.
Here we go. I'm back. So anyway, our 30th pick is worth 620 points, and our first second round pick is worth 340. So that gets you at 960. So 960 gets you into the 17 range. The 17th pick, which is Cincinnati, that pick is worth 950 points. So we could get with those 2 picks up to 17, unless you package some other stuff. If you took the second of the second round picks, that's 284. So you're looking at what? You're looking at 4. So you're looking at what? 7. Wait, 7.
I was told there would be no math.
I know, and I'm struggling.
What's that from? I was told there would be no math.
That gets you up,
like us.
That gets you up around 20. That gets you up around 22. Great movie.
Great movie.
That gets you up around 780, which is 22nd, which is the Chargers. I think the team that we probably, if we did move up, we probably move up 1, 2, 3. We probably move up 4 spots in the first round, because the 2 teams that are glaringly need picks, you got Atlanta, who's sitting at 15. That's 1,050 points. That's pretty steep to move up there. But the Rams is another team that's strapped for draft picks to move up to 26. It's only worth 700. So you could physically take one of your 4th round picks and move that over and then get up into about 4 or 5 spots higher than you are. So that might be a possibility as well.
Gotcha. We should start one of the shows one of these days with doctor. Great pull, John Fina. The Overreaction, probably the only sports network where they're going to do callbacks from movies like Spies Like Us, because we're all three old men. Before I get us out of here, I have one thing to cover real quick, but before that, to kind of like put a bow on this, John, Jerry, any dark horses, any guy out there that you're like, this is the dude I would love to see the Bills go get? Anywhere in the draft. It doesn't have to be a first rounder or a second rounder, but it's like, this is the guy that like I see make a difference on this team.
You mean moving up like first round to
no, anywhere, anybody, just anybody in this draft that you love that would fit this team well.
Well, I'll tell you, when I talked to a friend who did a lot of grades on the offensive line in this draft, and his opinion was very, very few tackles are actually in this draft. Like, a lot of guys played tackle in college, but outside of 2 or 3 potential first round picks, these other guys look more like guards,
right,
in the NFL. Right. And I think that we might be a little bit surprised to see Brandon Beane look at picking up a left guard, right? I mean, that would be a surprising pick, maybe kind of mid-round, to grab one of these guys that played tackle in college and move them to guard. But as far as specifically by name, no. I mean, it's just such a vast landscape to really kind of get to know all these players. But I think that's sort of a position that we feel like we're solid at, but there's issues of aging, issues of, is this really the guy who's going to get us over the top? So, that's a possibility.
As far as guys that just have to have, I mean, again, I talked about him earlier. I'm a big Kenneth Grant fan. I really am. I think that's a guy that could really help us for quite some time in Buffalo. I think he fits the mold of what we want at nose.
Defensive tackle for Michigan. Yeah.
Yes, defensive tackle for Michigan. Has a little bit of he could play 3 or nose. I mean, if we had to have him play a 3, he could. I like him a lot. I told you earlier, as far as projects go, I'm enamored with this Oladajo kid. I really am. I'm enamored with him. I think that he is a guy that, like I said earlier, the sky's the limit for him. I think he's a guy that has a lot of tools. He's just raw because he's never played there.
Right.
And if we got him in day 3, I'd be extremely happy.
Carl Thomas with the super chat asks the question: would you trade up to 22 if it got us Kenneth Grant?
Yes.
Only if there isn't a cornerback that slid who would be available. But yes.
A corner. So how would you know if they slid? I mean, you're at 22. Who's sliding at that point?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if there's somebody available at 22 who is a corner that you thought was going to go at 10 to 12, 10 to 15,
jump up
and
there,
you're moving up to 22, that could be the guy.
But when you look at the corners available, or at least that are graded in this draft, you've got Travis Hunter, of course. You're not going to get near him.
No.
The other guy I really, really like, and you asked me that question a second ago, and it slipped my mind, but the other guy that I think would be amazing for us is a guy like Jahdae Barron, the corner from Texas, who's got a high ranking, who will probably be a top 15 guy because he can play over the slot and play outside. He's got a lot of he can do one or the other.
But Johnson, that's the answer, right, Jerry? If that guy who has that tool set somehow doesn't go at 15 and he keeps sliding, because the way the draft works, right? I mean, we're looking at playing by position, right? And if those teams from 15 to 22 are also like, no, we're not drafting corner this year, we're drafting D tackle, we're drafting O-line, that becomes a reason a guy slides, not because he went to the hookah house with.
Well, I'm going to give Joe Miller his roses. I'm going to give Joe Miller his props. So mark this 3450 of show number, whatever this is we're doing on a Sunday night. Mark it and record it. I'm going to give Joe Miller his time.
It's about time.
I think that, especially when I look at what the Eagles did this year, it's much more important. And you know me, I'm a front seven guy. I'm an O-line guy. It's much more important for us to have dogs up front on the defensive line. McDermott and those guys seem to be able to find cornerbacks and get them to be able to play our system. And contrary to belief, and I heard Joe Marino talk about this the other day, and I never thought of it this way, but he was right. The league is more zone than it is man. Very few teams come out and just play press man all the time. It's much more zone than it is man. And I think with the way we can teach, we can sit there, you know, if that defensive lineman's there that we need to trade up for, we trade up for him. But we could take a guy like Trey Amos. We could take a Dorian Strong from Virginia Tech. Hell, we could probably take Benjamin Morrison, who's kind of that patient type of corner from Notre Dame. He's 6 foot 193. Will excel in zone. More of a linear dude, can read things, but he's not necessarily a dude that's going to carry guys downfield. I think we could probably develop a corner as a second or third round guy. If I got a chance to get that dog up front, I'm going to get him before I worry about it.
I agree.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
I like it. And just for the frame of reference, cornerbacks of the Buffalo Bills interviewed during the combine, Zy Alexander, cornerback out of LSU, Trey Amos, obviously cornerback from Ole Miss, Jadon Barron, who you said, cornerback from Texas, Denzel Burke, cornerback from Ohio State, Romello Dotson, cornerback from Kansas, and Will Johnson, cornerback from Michigan. Those are the guys that they interviewed.
And if you look at cornerback grades, especially PFF's grades, they only got three or four guys that are definite. I'd say three guys that are definite first-round locks as far as their cornerback room. After that, the next guy, you got your top three in Hunter, Barron, and Johnson. Then after that, it's Trey Amos at 30. And then you got Benjamin Morrison. So that cornerback room falls off pretty quick.
Yeah. Before I get us out of here, we have been teasing for several weeks now, and Jerry has been teasing as well about a new show that's going to be coming to the Overreaction Sports Network, a daily show. Jerry, would you like to talk about this new adventure that we hope is going to start on Monday morning, April 14th?
Yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to do it tonight, or we're going to do it Monday, and then the first one will be
tonight, and then the first one would drop on Monday.
Ooh, I don't know if we have any news to talk about tonight.
Welcome to the off season.
But anyway, if it starts tonight or tomorrow night, it's going to start this week. And this week, it's called Overreaction Buffalo Daily. I'll be hosting most of those. I'm sure there'll be a time where Joe or John have to hop in, but we'll be bringing to you the daily news of the Bills, 10 to 15 minutes, and we'll get right into it. And it'll be fun, and looking forward to it. So just another means for you to go out there and get your up to the second, up to the day Bills content right here on Overreaction Buffalo.
Yeah, there's a great need, we feel, for just effectively shorts, right? Something that's kind of short to the point, 1-2 topics, what's happening, and then to basically have that news delivered to you by Jerry Ostrowski, and then his opinion on that news or rumor. Just a quick hit in and out, but that's going to start sometime this week. So be looking for that. It's going to drop. It'll be on YouTube, and then it'll also be dropping as a podcast as well. So just something a little bit different for you from Overreaction Sports Network. So yeah, tell a friend. But any final words before I get us out of here?
Nope.
No, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Show on the Overreaction Sports Network, powered by the Believe Podcast Network. It's been good to have you. Draft prep. It's mock draft season, even though I still have not done one. Jerry has fallen victim to the fun of the mock draft. And I'm not going to lie, it looks like it's fun when like the trades are coming at you and like the whole thing happens. But yeah, draft season is upon us. I'm excited for it. I hope you guys are all planning draft parties, if not, or at least attending one, because it's way more fun to be at somebody's house drinking a beer while you're watching the draft. But so good to have every single one of you guys join us. For me, for John, for Jerry, for all of us here at the Overreaction Sports Network. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Much love. Go Bills.
Love you guys. Go Bills.